Hello and welcome to the Ben Standard. Today we are reviewing the mega hit from Disney Plus, WandaVision. WandaVision is the sitcom created by Wanda Maximoff, starring Wanda and Vision as a sitcom couple living out an episode in every era of television, dating back from the black and white sitcoms of the 1950s and 60s to the mockumentary style currently dominating the medium. Wanda is a show tinged with mystery and the sense of something sinister lurking underneath. What starts out like a lighthearted journey through time and television quickly evolves into something bigger, an epic struggle punctuated with cliffhanger after cliffhanger after cliffhanger until it delivers an adrenaline-fueled Marvel finale. With more than its fair share of twists and turns, there's plenty to talk about, so let's dive in and start discussing this tale of grief, witchcraft, and the ship of Theseus? Does it meet the Ben Standard? Let's find out. Major spoiler warning. The first reason it might meet the Ben Standard is because of the performances. Oh my God. Elizabeth Olsen perfectly anchors the chaos she unfurls upon the town of Westview, New Jersey, where her hex of chaos magic creates a fantasy TV universe, but also imprisons all of its citizens under Wanda's control, including the dogs, which don't bark like my neighbors, just saying. Elizabeth Olsen is a sitcom mom, occasionally a villain, but more often than not, she is in over her head, wielding a power greater than she can control, with emotions so devastating, it's too much for her to bear alone. Who can't relate to this? Her performance covers a massive range of emotions, which begins so joyfully and spirals into darkness, repression, and pain. What's stunning about WandaVision and what I didn't expect was how personal the story is. And as good as Elizabeth Olsen is, Kathryn Hahn and Paul Bettany steal the show in every single scene where they appear. Can I call this a breakout performance from Kathryn Hahn? Hasn't she broken out by now? She's had so many phenomenal, small profile roles, but at the time I got to WandaVision, I instinctually had a smile just seeing her, even though I can't remember exactly what I'd seen her in. She nailed the nosy neighbor. She was the perfect actress for WandaVision. She can play the friend, the neighbor, the villain, and she can do it all hilariously. Kathryn Hahn has been the most underrated actress in Hollywood forever, and I'm so happy for her to appear in WandaVision and to crush it. But still, it's nothing compared to Paul Bettany. Oh, that smooth, silky voice. Talk to me, Paul. As the Vision character is constructed, he's enormously complex. He doesn't even really exist. He's a version of Wanda's memory, confused and lost in this tiny world that makes no sense. Like Wanda, he gets to play up his playful side at the beginning, and he's brilliant.
You're like a walking computer.
What? I most certainly am not. I'm a regular carbon-based employee made entirely of organic matter, much like yourself.
It's especially apparent during Vision's death scene, which he approaches with the innocence of a child. After all, the Hex version of Vision was only alive for like 7 days. Here, in this scene, he conveys that he has a curiosity about death, looking forward to what he may become next. It is without a trace of human cynicism, and it highlights the pain Wanda feels in letting him go by ignoring that emotion of hers in the dialogue. It's there in the subtext. Wanda's pain is our pain, and it's evident without being overstated. The first reason it might not meet the Ben Standard, and I know there are Marvel stands out there that are gonna go, Ben, how dare you point out anything wrong with WandaVision or anything from Marvel at all? Everything is perfect. What have you ever done, Ben? What have you accomplished? Anyway, the first reason it might not meet the Ben Standard is because of the climax, which is not the ending. The ending was really poignant and emotional, definitely more so than I was expecting, as we highlighted in Paul Bettany's performance. But despite all the personal touches and character development of WandaVision, everything leading up to the climax is a Marvel thing, which means it tends to sell itself out for easy to digest resolutions. It doesn't really care about plot holes or character growth, and it's all sacrifice for convenience whenever possible. It has to follow predictable tropes, and the villains are always set up to fail. A friend asked me how I thought WandaVision was going to end, and my sincere response was, I think there's gonna be a big fight, a portal is gonna open up, mutants are gonna fall out, and Doctor Strange will show up going, "What have you done?" I don't think I was too far off. Agatha Harkness's only line for the last 5 minutes is pretty much, "You don't know what you've done. You have no idea what you've unleashed." Marvel really can't help itself, especially with the trope that like superheroes and supervillains always have to be, made of the same stuff. They have to have the exact same powers. God forbid a robot might one day fight a witch, or a super soldier might fight an Ant-Man. No! People can only fight if they have the exact same powers. Especially during the Vision fight, it's visually stimulating, but I didn't get why they were fighting. I didn't see how one density-changing robot could possibly get an advantage on the other density-changing robot, so the entire fight became a farcical orgy of pointless destruction. I mean, but this happens with Thor and Black Panther too. Villains and superheroes, they never get tired while they're doing a fight. I mean, if it wasn't for stupid gimmicks and, logic callbacks or whatever, like trains that destabilize vibranium or the stupid ship of Theseus argument, it stands to reason Marvel fights would never end until the Earth was cut in half or whatever. Marvel fights should be more like Highlander, the classic 1986 film, There Can Be Only One. That's perfect. Connor McLeod wasn't like, remember 300 years ago when you casually mentioned that every time you hear the word hut, you remember when your father died in a hut and that makes you paralyzed with fear for 5 seconds? Well, guess what? We're in a Pizza Hut right now. Bet you didn't see that one coming. No, they just fought and Connor McLeod won. And getting back to the ship of Theseus here, any conflict that can be resolved by talking isn't really a conflict. Also, you're a highly advanced AI. Don't you think your argument wouldn't be the first page of a metaphysics textbook? What's this nonsense about he's programmed to kill the Vision? Who programmed him? He was brought to life by magic, not code. Like most Marvel stuff, it falls apart if you think about it too much, like the Agatha All Along song. Okay, we'll get to that a little later, but for now, the second reason it might meet the Ben standard is because, despite all my generalizations about Marvel properties, WandaVision is a little bit deeper than your average Marvel film or television show. If you remove Agatha from the WandaVision equation, you have the foundation for a high art Charlie Kaufman style film. That's pretty high praise for a Marvel thing. This is a character portrait of a woman as she struggles through something real, profound, and universal. Dare I say it shows some maturity on the part of the Marvel franchise? Is this a sign to come that Marvel will strive for a hint of controversy, ambiguity, artistic excellence? Probably not. If Marvel is trying to become less superficial, then WandaVision is a great first step, because in superhero lore, death is much more fleeting than it is in real life, and an easy way to become disinvested in any film, let alone a cinematic universe with at least 20-something films at this point, is to be desensitized to death, the ultimate stake. Even Black Widow's death in Endgame comes with a prequel pretty soon, and if I can't care about people in life or death situations because their deaths are inconsequential, why will I care about them suiting up for another life or death situation in this sequel or the 5,000th sequel to come? Seeing the toll that loss after loss had on Wanda brought that realness, that consequentiality back to the Marvel Universe that I haven't felt since Iron Man. Even in Infinity War, when Thanos wins, that wasn't real because it was an outright subversion and it avoided any depth. WandaVision is first and foremost a human story that happens to someone with superhuman powers. The great shame of WandaVision, again, is that you can imagine this whole world and almost all the same conflicts happening without some paper-thin villain supposedly pulling the strings, supposedly interfering and taking the blame. I mean, you don't even have to get rid of S.W.O.R.D. They represent the outside world crashing in, trying to take down the Hex brick by brick. And the second reason it might not make the Ben standard is because of the Agatha character, which again, I spent plenty of the third reason skewering. Nothing to do with Kathryn Hahn's performance. If anything, Kathryn Hahn is so brilliant, I'm extra mad. Marvel villains aren't always that great, but at least with Killmonger and Black Panther, his plan made sense. Agatha's plan makes zero sense. It's possibly the stupidest plan I've ever seen a villain attempt. She senses some giant monster magic thing happening and she drops everything to go there. Doesn't she have plans with a friend that weekend or a job? This wasn't premeditated on Wanda's part, but she's just ready. If Agatha sensed this Hex and decides to do nothing, she's good. She's still a super powerful witch, not trapped in someone's uber powerful magic bubble. Seriously, who sees giant magic bubbles and goes into them? Why does Agatha trap Wanda in her basement? Just to take her down memory lane. Okay? Is she a super villain or a court-appointed social worker? Okay? Then if you have your power source trapped in a basement with runes, that makes her completely powerless. Why did you let her leave? I mean, you did the magic memory lane thing. You couldn't, like, pop her back into the magic runes? And if her superpowers do absorb other people's magic, why did her mom try to kill her with magic centuries earlier? It seems like fire would be a better bet. I get it. I'm just rambling. I'm rambling here. And everything about Agatha's character is nonsense. And nowhere is that more clear than the Agatha All Along song. Okay, what is Agatha getting blamed for? What did she do? She killed a dog. That's not nice, but it's tangential to the conflicts of WandaVision. If this is a sitcom world, there has to be stupid conflicts that are easily resolved in 30 minutes anyway. That seems like it's part of Wanda's plan all along, not Agatha all along. And yet, sure, the dog died, but dogs die in sitcoms. These things are supposed to happen. So what is Agatha even doing? Like you see her using magic at the magic show, and the magic show was a huge success. If she interfered, I don't see how it was insidious or perfidious or naughty. I mean, if Agatha didn't create the Hex, which she did, and she isn't accelerating time in the Hex, which I don't think she was. It wasn't very clear why that was happening, other than Wanda was losing control. I mean, it really just seems like the creators want to make a bunch of episodes in different genres, so the time thing was necessary. But anyway, I mean, there's nothing to blame Agatha for. She does exactly what she's supposed to do until the reveal, which is a cliffhanger. I mean, this is just Marvel planting an idea in people's heads to simplify the issues going on in WandaVision, which is the opposite of what Marvel should be doing. They should be leaning into the complexity and not shying away from it. The verdict. WandaVision does meet the Ben standard, but really unenthusiastically. As much as I'd love, and I would love indeed, to say it doesn't make the Ben standard, I can't really find that many faults in WandaVision. As far as tests of the Ben standard go, WandaVision passes. One of the most basic criteria: was the show at one point during its run the dominant cultural force? While 2020 and now 2021 haven't provided much competition, for 8 weeks I was waiting for the clock to strike 3 a.m. Eastern Standard Time so I could turn on the next episode of WandaVision. It's very likely to go down as one of the best miniseries of all times, which isn't saying much because miniseries as a genre are generally trash, but we'll get into that another time. I stand firmly behind my first negative, that this has all the faults and frustrations of a Marvel property, and I still have this nagging sense that I can't really give the Ben standard of approval to a work that only has the faintest trace of depth, but what choice do I have? So much as I want to be known as Marvel's harshest critic, the theme of grief resonated deeply enough in me that, I mean, despite my strongest anti-Marvel defenses, I was moved. I had an emotion, and I mean, I love the characters, I love the performances. It's a joy to watch. There are so many classic moments, and I mean, sure, it'd be great if there was a great third act, but usually third acts are just the icing on the cake. The second act is the meat and potatoes of a work, and there's more than enough substance in WandaVision for the hungry viewer. All 9 episodes of WandaVision are available for streaming on Disney Plus. Binge on, my friends, and binge only the best with the Ben standard.